Seniors, hold on a moment. Did you know that the very appliance meant to keep your food safe might actually be quietly harming your health? It sounds dramatic, but stay with me, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you use your refrigerator. Every day, millions of people, especially those over 60, unknowingly store foods in the cold that should never be there. These aren't exotic ingredients, they're everyday staples found in almost every kitchen. Yet when chilled, they undergo subtle chemical and biological changes that can drain nutrients, distort flavor, and even produce harmful compounds. You might have noticed something odd before. Maybe your mashed potatoes turned strangely sweet, or your bread hardened after just a few days. It isn't your imagination, it's chemistry at work. When certain foods are stored below ideal temperatures, their internal structures shift. Sugars convert, starches crystallize, and beneficial enzymes shut down. Scientists now believe this habit could be linked to gut imbalances, blood sugar issues, and even the rise of chronic diseases among older adults. Think about it, most of us grew up believing refrigeration meant preservation. And in many cases, that's true. But not for these 9 everyday foods. Some lose nearly all of their antioxidant strength, while others literally transform at the molecular level. Today, we're revealing the truth behind 9 foods that should never see the inside of your fridge. Every point is grounded in peer-reviewed research and practical science, no myths, no guesses. Along the way, we'll explain how to store each one safely so you can protect both your groceries and your health. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, your age group, and whether you've noticed changes in taste or texture after refrigerating certain items. We personally read every response and love offering individual tips based on your feedback. And if you find this information helpful, don't forget to tap like and subscribe for more science-based guides designed to keep you feeling young, strong, and full of energy. Ready to see what food tops our list? Let's start with the one that's sitting in almost every kitchen pantry right now, and it's the last thing you should ever chill. Repeat button rehook. You might think keeping your potatoes cold helps them last longer, but wait until you hear how your refrigerator could be turning them into a potential toxin factory. Let's begin with a food nearly every household has, potatoes. You might think tossing them in the fridge keeps them fresh longer. Unfortunately, that simple habit can completely change what's inside them, and not for the better. When potatoes are exposed to cold temperatures, something called cold-induced sweetening happens. In plain terms, their natural starches convert into sugars. That might not sound like a big deal, but here's the problem. Once those refrigerated potatoes are cooked, those excess sugars combine with amino acids to form acrylamide, a compound that researchers classify as a probable carcinogen. A study conducted at the University of Idaho found that potatoes stored in the fridge had a 300% increase in sugar content within just 2 weeks. That means you're not only changing their flavor, making them strangely sweet and grainy, but also introducing unnecessary chemical reactions into your diet. The best way to store them? Keep potatoes in a cool, dark place, ideally around 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. A pantry, basement, or a paper bag inside a cupboard works perfectly. Avoid plastic bags, they trap moisture and promote rot. And here's a lesser-known tip, never store potatoes near onions. Both release gases that make each other spoil faster. A few feet of separation can keep them edible for months. Now, onto another everyday staple, bread. You probably grew up thinking that the fridge keeps bread from molding, and while that's true, it also ruins the texture faster than you realize. The process is called starch retrogradation. Cold air causes the starch molecules in bread to crystallize and push out moisture, making it dry and crumbly. In fact, research from the Institute of Food Technologists shows that bread stored in a refrigerator goes stale 6 times faster than bread left at room temperature. Those wonderful flavors and aromas you love in fresh bread, the ones that make your kitchen smell heavenly, vanish as the cold air breaks down volatile compounds. So what's the right move? Store your bread in a paper bag or bread box at room temperature to allow a little airflow. If you won't finish a loaf within a week, slice it first and then freeze it, not refrigerate it. Frozen bread revives beautifully when toasted straight from the freezer. Just don't let it thaw first, that's when it loses moisture. Repeat button rehook. Think bread and potatoes were surprising? Wait until you hear about the next food, one that's been called nature's perfect medicine. Yet one trip to your fridge could strip away its healing powers in days. Now, let's move to something that's been called liquid gold for thousands of years: honey. This natural sweetener has been prized since ancient times, not just for its flavor but for its incredible ability to never spoil. Archaeologists have even found jars of honey in Egyptian tombs that were still perfectly edible after more than 3,000 years. So why do so many people ruin this miracle food by putting it in the refrigerator? When honey gets cold, it begins to crystallize rapidly. Instead of smooth, golden syrup, you're left with a thick, gritty mess that's hard to spread or dissolve. But that's not the biggest problem. Each time you open that chilled jar, condensation forms inside, introducing moisture. And moisture is the one thing honey cannot handle. According to the National Honey Board, storing honey below 50 degrees Fahrenheit causes it to lose up to 35% of its natural antimicrobial properties. Those same antibacterial compounds are what made honey a trusted healing agent for wounds and infections throughout history. Cold temperatures also break down the 180+ flavor compounds that give honey its complex taste. So, if you want your honey to stay rich, aromatic, and full of nutrients, store it at room temperature, ideally between 64 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 24 degrees Celsius, in a tightly sealed jar away from direct sunlight. If it ever crystallizes, just place the jar in warm, not boiling, water and stir gently to restore its texture. And here's a fun fact: darker honeys, like buckwheat or manuka, have higher antioxidant levels than lighter ones. But they're also more sensitive to cold, so refrigeration harms them even faster. Now, let's talk about something most of us can't start the day without: coffee. If you've been keeping your coffee beans or grounds in the fridge, it's time to stop. Coffee is one of the most absorbent foods you can buy. Those beans act like sponges, soaking up every odor in your refrigerator, leftover curry, cheese, and even last night's fish. That's why refrigerated coffee often tastes off. But odor isn't the only issue. The constant temperature changes cause condensation to form on the beans, leading to mold and loss of flavor. Research from the Specialty Coffee Association found that refrigerated beans lose 60% of their aroma within just 1 week. Those aromatic oils you smell when you grind fresh coffee? They solidify in the cold, meaning your morning brew will taste weak and flat. The solution? Store coffee in an opaque, airtight container at room temperature, away from light, heat, and moisture. For long-term storage, divide beans into small portions and freeze them once. Never refreeze, moisture damage becomes irreversible. Repeat button rehook. If you think losing your morning coffee flavor is bad, just wait until you hear what happens when you chill the next food. It can actually turn a natural medicine into something toxic. Let's talk about garlic, one of nature's most powerful healing foods. For centuries, it's been praised for its ability to support heart health, fight infections, and even lower blood pressure. But there's one mistake that can strip garlic of nearly all those benefits: storing it in your refrigerator. It might sound harmless, but here's what actually happens. Cold and moisture cause garlic to sprout prematurely. Those green shoots that appear in the cloves. They're bitter and can upset your stomach. Even worse, the damp, chilly environment inside a fridge encourages mold growth, and certain molds can produce dangerous mycotoxins. Scientists at the University of California, Davis discovered that garlic stored at refrigerator temperatures loses about half its allicin content within just 10 days. Allicin is the key compound that gives garlic its antimicrobial and heart protective powers. Without it, garlic becomes just another bland seasoning. The cold also breaks down the cell walls, turning the cloves soft and rubbery. If you've ever tried to mince refrigerated garlic, you'll know the result: a sticky paste that refuses to chop properly. The fix? Store garlic in a cool, dry place with good airflow, a mesh bag or open basket is perfect. The temperature should hover around 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 18 degrees Celsius. Never seal garlic in plastic or airtight containers, it needs to breathe. And keep it away from sunlight or heat, which speed up sprouting. A whole bulb can last up to 6 months this way. Once it's broken apart, use the cloves within 10 days for peak freshness and flavor. Now let's turn to bananas, one of the world's most popular fruits and a staple for many seniors who want quick, healthy energy. But here's the problem, bananas and cold air do not mix. Being tropical fruits, they're not built to handle refrigeration. When bananas get too cold, they suffer from what experts call chilling injury. Their cell walls rupture, enzymes leak out, and the fruit begins breaking down from the inside. This is why refrigerated bananas turn dark, mushy, and lose that pleasant sweetness. A study from the Queensland Department of Agriculture revealed that bananas stored below 56 degrees Fahrenheit lose up to 80% of their vitamin C within 5 days. That's a huge nutrient loss. The blackened skin isn't just unattractive, it's a sign that the banana's defense systems have collapsed. To store bananas the right way, keep them at room temperature, between 56 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 13 to 21 degrees Celsius. Hang them on a hook to prevent bruising. Want to control ripening? Place bananas in a paper bag with an apple to speed it up, or wrap each stem with plastic to slow it down. Repeat button rehook. You might think bananas and garlic are shocking enough, but the next food is one most people refrigerate daily, and it could be quietly releasing toxins right in your kitchen. We're down to the final 3, and these are the ones most people get wrong every single day. Let's start with onions. If you've been keeping whole onions in your refrigerator, here's some surprising news: the cold, humid air in there actually destroys them faster. Onions prefer a dry environment, about 60 to 65% humidity, but the inside of your fridge sits closer to 95%. That extra moisture seeps into the onion's outer layers, creating the perfect home for mold. Worse yet, that mold can produce aflatoxins, which are among the most harmful substances known in food science. Even before mold appears, the cold converts onion starch into sugar, giving them an odd sweetness and ruining their texture. A Texas University study found refrigerated onions had a 270% increase in sugar content within 2 weeks. No wonder your sautéed onions sometimes taste strange. Instead, store whole onions in a cool, well-ventilated spot like a pantry or basement, ideally around 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 13 degrees Celsius. Use mesh or paper bags, never plastic, and keep them far from potatoes. These two vegetables release gases that make each other rot faster. The only time refrigeration is acceptable: when an onion has already been cut. Seal it tightly and use it within a week. Next up, tomatoes. This one shocks almost everyone. When tomatoes get cold, they don't just lose flavor, their genes literally shut off. Researchers at the University of Florida discovered that temperatures below 54 degrees Fahrenheit deactivate hundreds of genes responsible for aroma and taste. Once that happens, even if the tomato warms back up, it never recovers. Refrigeration also slashes the availability of lycopene, the antioxidant that helps protect the heart and brain. Cold conditions reduce it by as much as 65%, and the enzymes that make lycopene usable by your body are destroyed, too. To preserve both flavor and nutrition, store tomatoes at room temperature, stem side down, out of direct sunlight. And remember, never seal them in plastic bags. They release gases that need to escape, otherwise, one bad tomato can ruin the whole batch in a single day. Finally, the star of healthy fats, avocados. These creamy fruits are packed with nutrients that support your brain, eyes, and heart. But refrigerating them before they ripen is one of the worst things you can do. Cold air halts ripening and triggers lipid oxidation, a process that turns their good fats into unstable compounds and destroys antioxidants like vitamin E. Research from Stanford University found that avocados stored in cold conditions lose up to 90% of their antioxidant activity within 4 days. That's nearly all of their nutritional power gone. Keep avocados at room temperature until they ripen naturally. Once ripe, you can refrigerate them for just 2 or 3 days, no longer. To keep a cut avocado fresh, leave the pit in, brush the surface with lemon juice, and store it in an airtight container with a piece of onion. The sulfur in the onion helps slow browning naturally. Repeat button rehook/closing, so there you have it, 9 common foods that lose their flavor, nutrition, and safety the moment they hit the fridge. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned, because in our next video, we'll reveal 7 foods that actually need the cold to stay safe and powerful. You won't want to miss it. You've just learned how 9 everyday foods can lose their power the moment they touch cold air. But the bigger message here goes beyond refrigerators. It's about taking back control of your kitchen and understanding what your food truly needs. For decades, we've been taught that refrigeration equals safety. Yet, modern research shows that the relationship between temperature, nutrients, and flavor is far more delicate than we realized. Many of these storage habits were born out of convenience, not science. Seniors, especially, can benefit from knowing the difference, because your body becomes more sensitive to subtle nutrient losses as you age. Here's what happens when you start storing food the right way: your vegetables taste better, your pantry smells cleaner, and you'll actually waste less. Nutrients that once faded away in the cold will begin working for you again, boosting your energy, digestion, and immune strength. You don't need fancy gadgets to get started. A few breathable storage bags, a cool dark cabinet, and a little awareness go a long way. Keep a small list near your fridge of foods that should stay out: potatoes, bread, honey, coffee, garlic, bananas, onions, tomatoes, and avocados. Over time, this becomes second nature. And here's something else to think about: not all cold storage is bad. Some foods thrive in the fridge: leafy greens, dairy, and certain berries, for instance. The key is to know which ones benefit from chilling and which ones suffer. Once you master that balance, your refrigerator becomes a tool, not a trap. We often spend so much time worrying about big health changes, exercise plans, new supplements, medical routines, that we forget the smallest daily choices can have enormous impact. Simply moving the right foods out of the fridge can help you absorb more antioxidants, enjoy natural flavors, and save money by reducing spoilage. So tonight, take 5 minutes to open your refrigerator and look again. What's sitting there that shouldn't be? Pull those items out, give them proper storage, and notice the difference in taste and texture over the next week. Healthy living isn't about radical changes, it's about smarter habits built one step at a time. Repeat button rehook/next episode teaser: think your fridge mistakes are fixed now? In our next video, we'll flip the script and reveal 7 foods that must stay cold to protect their nutrients and keep harmful bacteria away. Some of them might surprise you, so stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed. So now you know the truth: not all foods belong in the refrigerator. But here's the exciting part: what you've just learned isn't just trivia. It's the foundation of a smarter kitchen and a healthier life. Most people treat food storage like an afterthought, yet it's one of the simplest ways to protect your nutrition without spending a cent. Think about it: you don't have to buy supplements or complicated gadgets, you just need to store smarter. When you give each food its ideal environment, nature does the rest. Start by reorganizing your space. Create 3 simple zones in your kitchen: cool and dark, dry and airy, and cold and sealed. Each group of foods belongs to one of these zones. Potatoes, onions, and garlic thrive in the cool and dark area. Honey, coffee, and bread prefer dry and airy shelves. Dairy, meats, and certain fruits belong in the cold and sealed section. Labeling these areas or using colored bins helps make the habit automatic. Another underrated trick: rotation. Use the oldest items first and place newer ones behind. This small step prevents waste and keeps your ingredients fresher for longer. Remember, every wasted fruit or vegetable is money lost and nutrition missed. You can even turn this into a fun weekly ritual. Pick one day each week, maybe Fresh Friday or Smart Sunday, to check what's in your fridge and pantry. Discard what's spoiled, wipe down surfaces, and restock your healthy staples. Over time, you'll notice that your kitchen starts to feel more intentional, almost like a living space that supports your well-being rather than drains it. And here's something most people overlook: proper storage doesn't just preserve nutrients, it also amplifies flavor. A tomato stored correctly tastes richer, garlic kept at room temperature smells sweeter, coffee protected from moisture bursts with aroma again. When food tastes better, you naturally eat more of what's good for you. So if you've been feeling like healthy eating is complicated or expensive, remember, it begins with understanding where your food rests between meals. That's it. No fad diets. No fancy programs. Just awareness. Repeat button rehook / next episode lead in. You've mastered what not to refrigerate, now get ready for the next step: the foods that actually thrive in the cold and how the right chilling technique can extend their life by 200%. Coming up next, we'll show you exactly which ones they are and the science behind their chill. Now that we've exposed the hidden dangers of over-refrigerating certain foods, it's time to balance the scale. Not everything hates the cold. In fact, some foods need it, not just for freshness, but for safety. Let's uncover 7 foods that actually thrive in your refrigerator and why keeping them cold can make a life-saving difference, especially for seniors. First up, leafy greens. Spinach, kale, lettuce, and other greens are nutritional powerhouses packed with vitamins A, C, and K, but these nutrients degrade rapidly at room temperature. Cold slows that break down dramatically. The ideal storage range: between 35 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, with moderate humidity. Wash your greens only before use, excess moisture encourages decay. Wrap them in a paper towel and store in a breathable bag. Properly chilled, they can last up to a week longer without losing nutrients. Next, dairy products. Milk, yogurt, and soft cheeses depend on consistent refrigeration to stay safe. Bacteria multiply quickly at temperatures above 45 degrees Fahrenheit, so even a few hours out of the fridge can lead to spoilage. Keep dairy on interior shelves, not the door; it's the warmest spot in your fridge. Fun fact: studies show that storing milk around 37 degrees Fahrenheit preserves both flavor and vitamin B2 better than higher temperatures. Then there are eggs. Contrary to popular belief, eggs in most countries do require refrigeration. That's because commercial egg washing removes the natural outer coating that protects them from bacteria like Salmonella. Keeping eggs below 40 degrees Fahrenheit prevents contamination and maintains freshness. Always store them in their original carton; it shields them from absorbing fridge odors and helps track expiration dates. We also can't forget berries: strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. These antioxidant-rich fruits are fragile and start breaking down almost immediately after harvest. Refrigeration slows mold growth and preserves vitamin C. To keep them fresh, line a shallow container with paper towels and avoid washing until just before eating. Finally, meat and fish. This one's obvious but crucial. Animal proteins are highly perishable. Refrigeration slows bacterial growth, but temperature control is everything. Keep your fridge at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and your freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Store raw meats in sealed containers on the lowest shelf to prevent drips from contaminating other foods. These cold-friendly foods actually get better when chilled, retaining their flavor, color, and nutrients far longer than if left out. Repeat button rehook / next episode teaser: but temperature alone isn't enough. Even the right foods can go bad if you store them in the wrong way. In the next part, we'll reveal simple fridge hacks that can double shelf life and stop hidden bacteria from growing in your favorite foods. Now that you know which foods love the cold, let's make sure your refrigerator is actually helping, not quietly working against you. Because here's the truth: even if you store the right foods in the fridge, keeping them in the wrong place or at the wrong temperature can ruin their flavor, destroy nutrients, or even invite bacteria. Let's start with temperature zones. Your fridge isn't evenly cold. The top shelves are slightly warmer, perfect for ready-to-eat items like leftovers and drinks. The middle shelves, usually around 37 degrees Fahrenheit 3 degrees Celsius, are ideal for dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese. The bottom shelves are the coldest, so that's where you should keep meat, poultry, and fish. And don't forget the crisper drawers, those are designed for fruits and vegetables, with adjustable humidity controls that make a huge difference in how long your produce lasts. Here's a secret: use one drawer for high humidity foods, like leafy greens and herbs, and the other for low humidity foods, like apples, grapes, and berries. High humidity prevents wilting, low humidity stops mold. A simple setting change can easily extend shelf life by several days. Another mistake people make: overstuffing the fridge. Cold air needs to circulate freely. When food is packed too tightly, temperature zones become uneven, and bacteria can flourish in warm pockets you don't even notice. Leave space between items, and don't block the air vents. Also, remember to keep a fridge thermometer inside. Built-in settings can be misleading, especially in older models. You're aiming for that sweet spot, between 35 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 to 4 degrees Celsius. Below that, some produce will freeze, above that, bacteria multiply. Let's talk about containers next. Glass or BPA-free plastic containers with tight lids are your best friends. Avoid foil or open bowls, they allow moisture and odors to travel. And for meat, always use a plate or tray underneath to catch drips and prevent cross-contamination, one of the leading causes of foodborne illness at home. Finally, give your fridge a reset every month. Remove everything, wipe down shelves with vinegar or baking soda solution, and check expiration dates. You'll be amazed at how much cleaner, fresher, and more energy efficient your refrigerator becomes with regular care. It's not just about food safety, it's about saving money, improving taste, and protecting your health with every meal. Repeat button rehook/future teaser. In the next part, we'll take this even further, exploring the freezer's hidden science, how freezing can both preserve and destroy nutrients, and the right way to thaw food safely without losing flavor or texture. Stay tuned, you're about to become a true kitchen scientist.